I think most of my work has come from either I know how to do something, somebody's looking for that, somehow they looked up and found me, or somebody told them about me or something, or just relationships. Hey, I'm on this thing, they need some help, told them about you, it's yours if you want it, right? So even the trust of people booking you or referring you, right? I think continuing to max out with what you do have, what you can do. If all you have is a Canon Rebel and an iPhone flashlight, like, do you max it out though? Like, do you keep learning what you can learn, doing what you can do, and continue to max that out? Or are you kind of blaming your level on the fact that you don't have a red, right?
Welcome back to another episode of the Rough Cut Club. I am your host, Joey Nicotra, here today in the studio, another week with a mustache, and I am hyped on my new look. I'm just got to be honest with you, man. I switched to the mustache, and I'm really hyped on it, and Shane smiles every time he sees me a little bit more when I'm wearing the stash. So.
I just want you to walk on set and be like, it's a me, a Joey.
It's a me, a Mario. It's literally exactly what I look like right now. But dude, it's good to see you, man. Hyped to be in the studio today, not only with you, but with a very, very special guest who is one of our own, man. He is a producer. He is the COO of Cinema Story Productions. He is a director and a very, very talented filmmaker, going by the name of Mr. Kelon Moore. Kelon, welcome to the pod today, bro.
It's a me, a Kelon.
I love it, man. Well, for those of y'all who don't know Kelon, man, he has been a really awesome addition to Cinema Story for a lot of years, and honestly, I think was originally one of our clients and was technically the very first client project I ever worked on with Cinema Story Productions back 7 years ago.
Dude, look
and
at
so
that.
like Kelon has been a really cool part of my story with Cinema Story, and is now we're all working together as one team, one dream. But Kelon, man, welcome to the pod today, bro.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, I got to jump in, though, too, because that blew my mind because I forgot about that, like, origin story for both of you guys 7 years ago with Cinema Story, now we're here doing this podcast. But also, for people that didn't know, too, this logo that I'm always wearing on my hat or my shirt, Kelon over here helped spearhead that. I think, what was it, 2019, 2020?
Something like that.
19.
We, Kelon actually, we were having him do some consulting on the business level. Amazing, brilliant business mind. I'm still getting value from him every day.
Well,
now just making him have
gas people up on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Come on.
Man.
So anyways, the Cinema Story logo, and we kind of did some rebranding at the time, but we appreciate it, man. We're stoked about it. One of my favorite pieces of branding to this day is that little C with the play symbol.
I love it,
which,
man.
He had a great designer that he sourced and provided for us, and yeah, man, it's all over our stuff now. So, Kelon, thanks, bro.
Thank you, man. We was on that call yesterday, and my wife passed by. You got on the hat, and you got the logo on the wall at the back, and she was like, "Well, he always on brand, just always on brand,
Always
Hey,
repping."
You know,
it.
so I'm gonna hate to say this example, but so one of our clients, they had Ryan Sirhan speak, and Ryan up on stage. He walks in with Sirhan right across his chest, his hoodie, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But he gets up on stage and he's talking about it, and he goes, you know why I have this on here? Why would I wear any other brand? I want you to know who I'm repping. It's me, because he's all about personal brand and stuff. And I was like, Ryan's an interesting guy. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I go, yeah, it's okay. I wear this C every day, because my wife looks at me the same way. She's like, you got any other hats? You got any other stuff? And she says you can't double logo, so you can't wear the logo here and the shirt that says Cinema Story logo. You got to wear like, so then sometimes I put it together. So it's just the Cinema Story and then the logo up here. So then I'm like the walking logo. Anyways, I digress.
Do you wear Nikes and Adidas at the same time?
I don't think so. I'm trying to, what do you mean? One on each foot?
You can't. No, gosh,
I don't know, man. I don't know what
aged yourself
style,
right
bro. I don't know what style is now.
Nah, it's all good. You can't cross brand contaminate, man. So I'm all for repping as many different variations of the brand as possible. You just can't start mixing up the brands.
But these young kids cross contaminate now.
What?
They got on like Nikes with Puma socks.
And
it's normal.
That's the Gen Z way for you right there. No, I was just kidding. But
no, you're right though.
In all, I'm gonna reel it back in because we off the deep end right now. But today's episode, man, is all about how to land bigger clients. So I think at the heart of all, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're a production company owner, the goal is to work with bigger clients, making bigger paychecks on cooler projects. And I think the commonality, for all creatives is how can we continue to level up in that model. And so one of the things that we want to dive into today is just our approach and our opinion. Again, this is all opinion on how we have gone about, starting where we did, and then growing to where we've got, and kind of some cornerstone pillars along the way that we have found to help us be successful in continually landing bigger and better projects that are more creatively fulfilling to work on.
I love it. I think you said it's time for origin story, like first projects, which I'm really curious. I think I've heard yours. You've heard mine. I'm excited to hear Kelon.
That's true.
What was your first freelance project that you can remember, and then do you remember what you got paid for that, if you did get paid for it? What was the rate?
He got 20 G's on his first project.
Out the
go
gate.
get it.
Out the gate. First two were weddings that I didn't get paid for. One was
that's a horrifying first project, by the way. Like, you didn't have any reps under your belt and you went straight into a wedding. That's really gnarly.
Scary.
That's really scary.
Yeah. It was good though. It was good learning. One of my friends from high school, we were pretty close, and he was getting married. He was just like, "Hey, bro, I want you to do my video. I need somebody to do the video." And it's like one of those people I couldn't say no to. Like, I probably would have never gotten into weddings. It wasn't, something I was looking at, but he's just somebody I wouldn't have said no to. Went, shot it by myself. I borrowed a Sony PD-170 from a friend. Went, shot it by myself, did the edit. I remember I also built my first PC during that time because I started the edit on this little laptop that wasn't powerful enough to even really push through Premiere, and getting that computer built during that time was great. They let me kind of finish the edit without sitting there rendering all day, right? So I did that for free, and from there I was like, I wish I had more than one angle. That was my main thing. And then the next time I thought, oh, I'm really about to build my reel up. I got invited to do a wedding in Destin, Florida. It was a beachfront wedding.
Destination wedding for your second wedding. That's crazy.
Yeah. It didn't go high sound. I go out there, same thing. I borrow that camera, borrow another camera. I think I borrowed one camera from a friend and one from the church, matching PD-170s. We drive to Florida. I go, I'm gonna set up the wide, I'm gonna operate the other one. Well, first of all, it starts raining for this wedding, so everybody now moves under a, what do you call those things?
Pavilion
canopy or something.
Yeah.
Everybody moves under a canopy. And so when the bride got up and walked in, everybody got up, moved in closer, completely blocked my wide shot. And so that was the gig where I was like, I can't keep doing this by myself. I can't be out here doing this by myself. So I didn't get paid anything for either of those but knowledge. And I think the third time I did it, I brought 2 people with me, had like, 3 camera ceremony, like did it right for the first time. And that's when I actually started charging. So I did that for a friend. He also worked in media. So he wanted a good video. So he was like, hey, I got about $900. So I wasn't really getting paid, but I was like, oh, I could pay some people. I could rent some stuff. We can do it right. Yeah, those were probably my first 3 times just going out, doing something,
I love what he said. It paid getting knowledge. And this is kind of goes back to like, getting started in the industry. We talked about that. But dude, that's some of the best payment you can get in people that let you trial and error on stuff, like I think we all had those first projects, where you go, oh, I won't do that again. I need the extra person, or I need the extra camera, and that kind of thing. But Joey, what was
well, even before we get into mine, what I like about that story too is that your very first project, you realized you needed 2 cameras. Your second project, you got 2 cameras and you realized the new problem. And then the third project is where you got paid $900 to go, and it's like you see this trajectory of like time doing the craft to get the bigger client. And so like even with just the first 3 clients that you had, you can see like the trajectory of growing in that. And so
knowledge part, man, that's what is the payoff.
And also figuring out my style over that time. So like you never did it before, you kind of watching to see what's out there, you mimicking stuff you looking at, and you do it a few times, you like, no, I think I'm more like this, a dope song, a good pace, so it's also kind of good time to figure yourself out while you're not on somebody's dime.
100%, man. Yeah. I think going back, like I look back at my freelancer journey, and I started out, I think the very first like freelance project I did was a car detailing video. And then I got involved in like this cheerleading company as well, and they were some of my first like projects in the industry. And I remember getting paid my first $500, and that was a huge milestone. Like, I don't know what it is, like $100, no, $1,000 was cool, but like $500, but like your very first time, man, that's Mount Everest. But then, fast forward, it's like, as you start doing more and more of these videos, like your cinematic vision for a project grows. And so like when you find your style, you realize, oh, I needed a second shooter. And it's like, as you continue to develop your craft, your vision for what you want to create begins to expand. And so I think that, while you're in the process of expanding, it's hard to find clients that fit the budget of your vision. But I think that I really want to dive into some things that helped us. And, maybe you guys I don't even know what you guys really got to add to this, but one of the biggest things for me, what are you laughing at? You feel like I'm throwing shade?
No. Yeah, it was like, I don't know what you could add to this.
It was a very Joe Ye moment. Very Joe Ye moment.
All right, you're going to have to explain Joe Ye for those that don't know Joe Ye.
They know him. It needs no explanation.
I love it. So he calls me Joe Ye. I think it's one of my favorite nicknames that I have to date. But I wasn't throwing shade about what you can do. I said I didn't know what you were going to do. Maybe that's what I meant and didn't say. But
gotcha.
Y'all got what? Probably double the time of me in the industry. I already know, bro. Y'all got.
Now he's gassing.
That was it was another shot fired. That was
shot. I was saying y'all got like twice the experience that I do, man.
You just called us old in like 3 different ways.
I called you wise in 3 different ways.
That's 4.
Y'all should see our business. Y'all should see our business meetings. It's mostly just this. There's a lot of like playful banter, and we don't get a lot of business done. Lord bless us when we get into a studio and we get to spend all of our time together.
HR will be crucial.
Yeah. HR will be an absolute necessity.
Oh, well, hey, I didn't get to share my origin story. Okay. I've shared this several times, but I started $35 a video.
Yeah.
And I had to do like 10 a day. I had a producer that was helping me book talent. I would shoot 10 videos. So that'd be $350, but I had to edit them as well. So I'd go home, edit them. I would need to do 100 videos in a month to make 3,500. This is back 2010 through 2012, 13. And that was how I like made bread and butter back then. And so it was a quantity game, and it taught me formula. So going back to the getting paid knowledge, that wasn't really like enough. Like I was still doing other stuff to survive, right? And so I was doing a few little pickup, projects here and there for other companies as a freelancer. But what that period of life taught me was the knowledge game of how to formulate things. How do you create processes and systems to then help you scale? Right? If I can do this, can I put somebody in place? Can I do this times 3? And now I've got a decent size, a quantity game, right? Can I do a quantity to be able to build something bigger at this rate? Which again is not ideal. Like you don't want to live at that rate. And again, that was 2012. But I think, just fast forward to where we are now, and I think this gives people perspective, because I think, when we get to interview other guests and you go, dude, these guys are doing 6-figure projects, but we all started somewhere, man. We started in free. My first project, my first wedding was free, but I was already doing some corporate commercial stuff before then, but it's super low dollar. I don't even remember what it was, and these $35 ones. But now, we're working on broadcast spots. We're working on with 6-figure clients. You know what I mean? But it's a journey, and so hopefully we can unpack some of those pivotal moments in our career that kind of helped us level up and get some of those bigger clients, not only on the freelance side, as Joey is mentioning, which Joey, I think you'll have a lot to speak there as well, because Joey is DP for hire. He's out on a lot of different projects. He does the majority of our projects at Cinema Story. He's obviously a part of Cinema Story, owner at Cinema Story. And then from a production standpoint, like I get asked this from other studio owners. In fact, I love like sitting around talking about how do you keep getting clients, right? And then leveling those clients up. And there's a lot of different schools of thought. So like Joey said, these are all our opinions. And some of the things I'll share today, they're still like, ask me in 6 months if it's working, because, biggest thing is to take chances, and it's the risk reward factor. You got to be able to take chances. And I think some of the things I want to unpack today, like spec shoots, like doing free projects, that's all risk, right? With you're not sure of the reward. But Joey, I'm going to throw it in your court, man. Freelancer, like tell us, I remember what I was paying you when you first started.
20 an hour.
20? I was 25.
That was my second project.
Oh, look at that. Dude, that is a huge increase from project 1 to project 2.
25% increase right there.
Very generous.
I'm good with my math.
I'm a generous employer.
Oh, don't get a big head.
So,
About 20.
but then very quickly, I will say not very quickly, but over the course of time, like we just kept upping that,
100%.
upping that, and now Joey, he has a nice DP rate that he can make on a day that is way more.
It's kind of a cliche answer, but I think the portfolio that you create attracts the future clientele that you want to work with. And if you take projects that you're constantly shooting, that are at a lower, let's just say quality of project, right? Like we've all done projects that are, just for a rate, and they don't really look that great, but they're what we get paid for. Especially starting out, when you take those and you put those into your portfolio, you're going to continue to attract those type of clients. And so if you can get lucky and work on a project that's bigger than the caliber of productions that you're normally used to working on, then fantastic. But for a lot of people, you wind up getting booked out on projects that are within the portfolio that you're presenting. And so I think that if you can go and reframe that conversation to doing passion projects and spec work that match the future clientele need and desire that you want to work with, then you're going to have a greater opportunity to work on the projects that are for bigger clients. And I'll give an example of that. When you and I first met, one of the videos that I remember him looking at to qualify me was a project that I did as a passion project that I actually paid money to do, and not that I got paid for. And it was a music video at the state fair for my good friend DeAndre, and we had, man, I put at the time a ridiculous amount of work in. It was like a 5 production day shoot. And we did like these rotoscope animations for it, and I had to learn how to do all that stuff by hand. And it was a cool thing. It won some film festivals. It did all right. But most importantly, it showed the type of work and quality of work that I wanted to get paid for, and not just the work that I was currently getting paid for. And so I think that, while having a portfolio is super important, how you develop that portfolio and how you curate that portfolio is going to really help attract the bigger clients that are currently that you got to have proof of concept before you can get hired for something. And so going out on your free time and creating the proof of concept work to then land the client that wants to duplicate that is going to really, really help you level up your game and your clients.
Big facts. I just had to pause. I thought when you were talking about the videos, you also had something on your reel at the time, or a link that you shared, or maybe that I dug up, like doing R&D on you, because I'm a creep. But it was, I thought you were talking about the one where you're on a skateboard. It was like 4th of July or something. You were shooting.
Oh my gosh.
We got to show a clip of that, because I remember finding that and I'm like, oh, this guy's a little, he crazy.
Was that when I feel like that was
that after the fact? Well, I still think you're a little crazy, so maybe it was after the fact. I thought that was early on in your portfolio work, but you're right, dude. Going back to that music video, that one did stand out. You know what I mean? And I think that is something, it's so important to self-invest in the type of work that you want to attract and do. And that's what we do at Cinema Story as well. We do what we call spec shoots, right? So it's like, we did a whiskey one, we did a LED volume wall one, we've done, all different types of spec shoots. We did a race car one, Kelon was out on that as well. And we do those because we want to, one, practice our craft, but then also attract clients that are in this industry, and we want to show them what we're capable of doing. It's that proof of life concept that then, but one other point I want to make, and this was a great point that Barton brought up on the podcast from ABC, and it's so true. And this is what I like. I don't like nickel and diming projects, because at the end of the day, you want to outperform the contract in a creative and visual way, because it's not about that deal's already done. And you hope that client gets a lot of ROI, and you book another one, and you can increase your rate over the years with that client as you provide more value to them. But I'm using that piece to go get another client. That's what I really want that piece for. So like, if you have the option for like the terms or the rate, I would go terms every time, because I want the power to create it how I want to create it, to attract more opportunities in the future. Because rate is temporary, terms are future potential.
And I was going to build on top of that and say, if you get a project that is at a lower rate, if you can control the creative for the project and control the terms, so to speak, then you can maybe go a little bit above and beyond in a way that helps you build on your portfolio, rather than just taking the rate but giving them full creative control. And that's a way that you can really leverage building your portfolio at a lower rate when you're getting started.
Disclaimer though, don't overpromise. Always, this is what we agreed to. Then you could deliver something that's even higher quality, right? But like, I would always suggest don't say, oh, we're just going to roll these extra things in and it's going to be really cool. Because then they're seeing that they're getting this free additional value on a client side. But it's better on the back end to go, this is how amazing we made the video, right? So it's kind of for the clients that potentially don't give you all that budget, but you decide to self-invest or to spend that extra time. Make sure that it's paid out for you in the future usage. I have a question for you guys. So a lot of people in the industry, because we hire out some freelancers and We have our tight knit of about 30 contractors in DFW. Then we expand and hire, whether we're traveling, crewing out a project, in NOLA or wherever it might be. And, and then in Dallas, we'll reach out to people. But when we do that, you run into some people that say, my rate's my rate. So what's your opinion on that topic? My rate's my rate. I won't ever do anything lower than this number. And then I got a follow-up one on this too.
You want to answer it first?
Sure. That's a good question.
Yeah. How do you feel as a producer or even as a freelancer? Like, are you flexible on your rate?
That's such a good question. I'm not, but I am.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to show a level of flexibility that seems like you could talk me into whatever you thought when you woke up this morning, right? So I have a floor in my mind. I go like, Vince Vaughn and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's like, I'm not getting out of bed for less than $100,000 a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I try
that
to
is
have
his rate, by the way.
That is my rate. I like to have a floor in my mind just for myself, like just to go like, don't just take anything that people throw at you. But I will do stuff below my rate or for free if, going back to what we talked about earlier, if I see that other form of compensation, knowledge, experience, relationships. Like, I think some of the best opportunities I'm getting even this year are tied to some low paying work I was doing last year. But the people that I was meeting in that environment, the stuff that I was learning to do, it increased my value to be able to kind of be a little more choosy with what I do. Cause I think you start freelancing and I was going to challenge you, but you came around there when you said it starts with the portfolio, and immediately I thought it starts with the mindset, right? Of how you even view the portfolio, right? Like it's some people that's in this to make money, not to do good work. They're in it to make money. Everything they're trying to get better at is making money or making more money. But like, if you're trying to get doper at what you're doing, the value of it will continue to increase and you'll make more money. So the mindset to even go, hey, I put my own money into this music video because I understand I need to show people what I'm capable of. Or like that first wedding I got paid for, I didn't keep any money. I was like, now I can hire people and rent the equipment I don't have. Like, I have to show what I'm capable of to even warrant a certain rate. And then, yeah, once you put in the work to get there, I mean, you to me, it's kind of a respect thing too, that you kind of honor where people are, how they operate. And if you can't afford that, that's cool. Or if you are asking for a favor or, something like that, like that's cool. But my thing is, I don't rock with the people that they pull the number out the air because that's what they felt like paying today. It's like, I'm not really thinking about what a DP makes in Dallas after I paid the venue and the caterer and all these other people that didn't get a discount. I had $400 left. So can you do it? Right. So it's kind of the nature of even where the ask is coming from, somebody solid. I had somebody tell me a couple of weeks ago I was doing something free for a family member that I should not. No, I'm just I'm not gonna say that. I'm doing something free for a family member. I rent cameras from let's call him a friend, a very handsome friend
who has a mustache.
And when I dropped the cameras off, he told me a few days later, he said, when you drop those cameras off, you look like you were defeated. You like you was just done with whatever you had been doing that day. And I was like, I kind of was. And he said, you should have phoned a friend. Now, for me, I respect his work so much that I wouldn't have called, even though I do consider Joey a friend, I wouldn't have called Joey and said, hey, I need your help coming to work on this free project for my cousin, right? There's something there that as much as I appreciated it, it just didn't, it doesn't really allow me to make that reach and go like, hey, come help me for free. But when I think about it, that is probably the kind of ask that he would appreciate more than me just devaluing what he brings or what he does and asking him to come do something for free or bring your stuff, or all I got is $200. You cool with that? Like, you know, I think the nature of the ask kind of determines if it's okay. But, you know, I've done, you know, going back to that example, you know, I'm thinking about a gig in particular last year I was doing that's like maybe half my day rate. And when I started doing it because it was new, it was different. It was going to teach me something that I hadn't been doing. And I really didn't know how it was going to turn out. You know, I didn't know if I was going to like it, any of the stuff. But probably the best opportunity I've gotten this year is from meeting and talking to people in that environment, right? And these were people who were probably making a really good day rate in a different role, whatever. I was kind of new in the space, right? So I made that sacrifice to form relationships, grow my knowledge, because my mindset is, you know, the more I can show up with, the more valuable that's gonna make me in the long run. I don't even remember what the question was.
Yeah, you dropped a lot of good. It was about, you know, is your rate your rate? You know, is it locked? But I think, man, I love what you said. I think it's about the nature of the ask and who's asking in the relationship, and that's beautiful. And I think that is so true. But Joey, I want to hear your perspective on this as well.
Well, to piggyback off what you said, I think you answered it perfectly even before the ask piece, where I'm flexible on my rate if there's also knowledge, experience, or relationships attached to it. And I think those three things are something that I always consider when somebody asks me to do something for less than my rate, because if I know I'm going to meet a producer or a director on set, those are the gatekeepers to hiring a DP. I have almost never gotten a referral from anyone else outside of another shooter that couldn't take a project or that wasn't a director or producer. Like grips are not my referral source. Audio people are not my referral source.
Shots fired.
It's directors and producers that if I have a relationship with, I'm going to then get more jobs on set because they're the ones that are going to come hire me. And so if I know specifically that I'm going to build relationships with any of those people that I see making moves, it's an immediate okay for me to be more flexible on my rate. The other thing is if I know that I'm going to get experience to do, for example, the volume wall. I had never shot in a volume studio, but we had the opportunity to go do it that at a rate that wasn't my day rate. In fact, it was free and it was like a spec project, but we got the opportunity to do it. And it's like, yeah, I'll carve out multiple days to then have this experience under my belt. And from that, I've now gotten a second volume production job, and we're working on another one right now. And it started with getting the experience and the reps under my belt. And so I think that's the trade-off for me, where if I can see enough value in the knowledge, experience, or relationships, then I'm willing to put my rate on the back burner to all of those.
Can I add something to that? I think if you believe in the person asking and what they're doing too, right? So kind of the example that y'all just gave, hey, I got 20 an hour, you know, or are you with it, right? So I think at some point, Joey had to look at what y'all were doing and go, you know what, we could do something with this, you know, like we can. And so you look at it and you go, yeah, today it's 25, but if I show up the way I show up, he shows up the way he shows up, and I trust him to, because I see him do it consistently. I know that'll grow, and I know what I'm making will grow. I think like any good partnership is we're seeing it the same way, and we're kind of hoping for the same things. Like even a client relationship, if you think about it, sometimes we outgrow a client, or sometimes a client can outgrow us. The relationships that last, there's a trust that we're going to stay on pace with each other. Like, you understand the world is getting more expensive and we're raising our prices, right? We understand that you're raising more money and communicating with higher level donors, and the quality needs to continue to increase and reflect that, right? So I think the good partnerships, we're all kind of growing together. And sometimes that starts with taking a lower rate or like, kind of coming in on some terms that aren't quite where you are, but because we believe in each other, we can kind of grow that together to get it to the place,
Hearing from both of y'all, and I'm pitching these questions up because I feel like I haven't freelanced in a long time. I do like 99, let's say 100% of my work inside Cinema Story. And I think back in 2020 during COVID, I took my first freelance project that I had taken. I don't know if y'all. I think I told y'all.
Was it the short film?
I took that edit, man. And you know why? I didn't. It wasn't that I. Well, I'm sure we all needed the money during the shutdown, but we had some revenue streams going on. But I was like, man, I want to just create, and I wanted to do something. So I took a super low rate on an edit because I was like, man, I just want to create something for somebody else in a narrative and fun space. That was a hard lesson learned at that one, but I would do it again though. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where I just needed to remind myself and grow and experience something. So it was okay taking that rate. But hearing everything that y'all said, even above the portfolios, I'm hearing relationship. I'm hearing network, because if it's about, relationship, experience, knowledge, like a lot of that is tied to the relationship. And that's how I was thinking too. From my perspective, when I'm trying to crew something or hire something, I tell all of our contractors, I'm always trying to fight for the highest rate for our team. I'm not a producer, and I want them to trust me. And I can say that all day, but you don't know if I'm really doing that or if I'm scamming you and I'm holding most of the bag, right? And I have to spend enough time with our team members, our contractors, so that they will trust me and see over the years that, hey, like it's starting at 20, hey, it's 25. Now we're at 100, we're at 150, we're at, you know what I mean? And it's going to keep going up. And we're paying time and a half for a half day and all these things that we, try to do to protect the contractor's time. And so that's something from my side. It's always hard for a ask. Like I same thing that you struggle with. I hate asking people to do stuff for free. So like the spec shoots was a new thing for us, but there was value that we all kind of got married to. Even from my side, it's like, hey, this may benefit us all. And if we book these projects, we're getting everybody back for the next volume wall shoot. We're getting everybody back for the next car shoot, right? It's a benefit to everybody. But I think it really does come down to that relationship when we talk about flexibility in rate. Right? Because otherwise, you don't want to, if you don't have that relationship, it is really hard. Let me just tee up this one example. I had a contractor, and I'll keep their names anonymous, but they asked me about my perspective on a rate that they had been offered. I said, well, I was going to be on this project, but I was offered this rate. It was my buddy who connected me with the producer. The producer offered me this rate. My buddy had already told me, hey, you should get like this rate. Like you should get $250 a day. And that's what, I think that's what they were talking about paying you. That's what they're paying me. Went to the producer. They're like, all I got's 175. Nobody else is getting paid more than 175 for this position. Like, that's all I can do. That's all that's in budget. And he went back and was like, hey, are you getting 250? Or are you really getting 175? He's like, dude, I'm getting 250. And so that just burned that bridge with he was like, dude, could I have taken the low rate because I need the work and it's a multi-day thing? But it totally just disenchanted him with that whole production and that whole relationship. And so if you're on the other side of that producing coin, my thing is just honesty and integrity, because I want everybody to know that like I'm out there trying to sell the highest tier of product and project because I want to get the most ROI for the client, so they'll continue to level up our pricing. I'm getting into the production company side of it, but then so that it can trickle down to the contractors too and go, hey, we're all eating good now because our combined work on this last project that created that next dope portfolio piece has now leveled us up into a new tier of relationships. And so that trust for me is super important. So it's really cool hearing that from y'all, that I feel like it is a relationship thing, whether your rate is flexible or not. Because when I go to new DPs, this is a thing that when I was early in the industry.
You go to new DPs?
This is early in the, this is early.
Twix.
This is early in the industry. So and yeah, we bring in additional DPs. We're always scaling, baby. We're always bringing in the new talent. But one of the things that I get asked a lot from these new DP, and when I was newer in the industry, I would go and be like, "Hey, so like, what's your rate?" And they're like, "Well, what's your budget?" And I'm like, "Well, that's what I'm trying to find out because I'm trying to bid this to a client." So you had to, my inexperience at the time, I couldn't really budget things. I didn't know industry rates and all that kind of stuff. And then those DPs inexperience at the time, I would say as well, because your rate shouldn't be flexible on the reverse side too, right? It's not like, it's a $1 million project. Well, cool. My rate is 3x. So the reverse is true as well, is what I'm trying to get to. I like integrity from my contractor's side. Like, even if I talk to a contractor and they say, this is my rate, and I'm like, cool, this is typically what we pay, it's actually over that. Like, I'm willing to pay you this rate. This is what we do at Cinema Story. This is how we pay. Or there's been times on the flip side, hey, it's a little less. Are you okay with that? Totally understand if you don't, And I was like, man, maybe I need to check my industry rates. Am I missing this mark, right? What is this going for? And then I start doing R&D. But I would say on the flip side, big like red flag turnoff for me in the relationship is when my rate is not my rate's my rate, or like my rate is flexible depending your budget.
Yep. You said two key things. You said integrity, which is what I was thinking about, and you said want everybody to eat. Everybody don't want everybody to eat, right? There's a guy that I stopped working with. So here's the other side of it. My rate is my rate. There was a guy, I'm discounting my rate because of knowledge and relationship. When I was younger, he taught me some things I just felt like you didn't have to tell me that. He'd break down his business. This is how I make money. This is how I make money off crew. This is how I make money off gear. He just, out of nowhere, he's just schooling me. And I'm like, wow. All the way, transparency, all the way to this is what I try to make a year because this is what I need to take care of my family. Like he went probably deeper into that than anybody had ever gone with me at that age. I valued that. So he could call me paying any rate, and I'm probably there because I value the relationship and the knowledge that I'm getting from this. And I probably would throw in exposure because he was doing larger stuff than I was used to doing. And so we had a good relationship, growing relationship. Enter the pandemic, right? First gig, so we've all shut down. We've all been at home. I'm at home dealing with the cost of eggs doubling a little bit different than some other households, right? And so I'm there and I'm not working. I'm trying to figure out, what are we doing here? I'm not, because I've just quit my job to go full-time freelance like a year ago. So I'm only a year into trying to build up the consistency of being booked, all the stuff. So this was it was a rough time. I'm on the phone with him. He's, yeah, buddy, it's been going terrible, man. We're so bored around here. I had to go buy a boat just to have something to do, And I'm like, I'm trying to deal with the cost of eggs. You're talking about you bored and you bought a boat, right? So this guy calls, hey, got this gig. Normally, you would make $500 doing this. I got about $300, right? So we all at home not doing that. Anybody's going to take just about anything at that time. And so I'm like, okay, let me be grateful that we're working and that, people are still providing opportunities, whatever. Do the gig, come back. Then he asked me to do it again. And I'm like, I can't keep going backwards for that reason. Cause it's not like, hey, we're all doing the best we can. Like, this guy's trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip. I know he's still charging $1,000 a head, but he's trying to pay out $300 instead of $500 or whatever to try to keep as much as he can, because maybe he is working less, but it's not meet your goal at everybody else's expense. Like everybody's out here struggling during this time. Maintain that same level of integrity on each project, each event, each case. People that kind of evaluated each time to make it work for them, kind of have the best outcome for themselves. That's the stuff that can even change when you do have relationship in place that would allow that, because now I've turned down some stuff where he was paying my rate. Like he's FedEx to me. There's nowhere else to work. I'll go move these boxes because I know I can make something. That's how I think of him, because his integrity showed me that he didn't have my best interest in mind. His mindset was not that everybody would eat, that there would be level playing field. His mindset is, I want to make as much as I can make on every single project, and wherever I can get over. I've seen him make the under the table deals and the, you know, side deals with vendors, like the, you know, client is going to pay you this and then you going to slide, you know, it's integrity. So some of that, when somebody asks you for something, ultimately you kind of think about the person, right? So you ask me that, you go, hey, normally it's this is how much I got. We've been in that discomfort because you don't like to ask for stuff, right? But it's like, I feel like I know you well enough to know your integrity and to be able to go, if he could pay it, he would, right? He's not calling, trying to get me to take a discount so that he can meet his margin and make, you know, if he could pay it and he could pay it in good faith, then he would, right? And he's not going to do it every time. He's going to do it when he needs to. So I think sometimes you can even be in a place where you see people change. You see people when they start having to make those business decisions, or it could be somebody y'all had a good relationship as freelancers and now they're trying to do a company thing or something. Like different sides of their integrity start to come out when they're in different positions on the project, you know. So I think that's something we always looking at, you know.
I think that going back to some of the early days at Cinema Story, I can recall only like 2 to 3 times where Shane has called me before closing a project and been like, hey, I've worked this lead. I'm very confident that their budget is capped here. Here's what I think the potential ROI is for us doing this as a company will be. If you're okay with this rate, we'll close the deal. Or if you're not, then we'll pass on it. And he's presented that to me a couple of times. And I think that, you know, again, it goes back to the integrity. Like, it's like, hey, you know, here's what I think the value is. If you want to do it at this rate, then cool. If not, then we're moving on and they're not our client. That said, one of the really smart things that I think that you do now at this point is you're very big on, instead of reducing the rate, reducing the scope of the project for the client. And so if a client only has, you know, $3,000 for a project, but it's going to cost us in-house, you know, $4,000, then we got to go circle back around to the client and say, well, we had 2 people crewed for this project and it was a 2 to 3 minute edit. What we can do instead is we can, you know, do a $3,000 project, but you're going to get a 1 minute edit and only 1 shooter is going to be on the job, and we're going to change the scope of the project and it's going to be a half day instead of a full day or whatever. And so I think it's one of the really great ways that if you give them your rate and say, here, this is what it is, and they're like, well, that's over budget, and it's like, well, let's relook at how we can revise the final product instead of revising our day rate. A lot of times we have found quite a bit of success in getting the client to be flexible on the deliverable versus getting the crew to be flexible on what they're eating off of.
And this is a huge thing that I found. You know, I've been doing sales for our company for 13, 14 years. And that mindset has definitely helped me close more deals and keep putting food on the table. And it's like, well, you don't always want to chase after the smaller clients, but it's not always the smaller clients. Sometimes it's my bid comes in at $60K, but they're capped at 45, you know, or 50. And I go, okay, like, hey, I'm still confident I can reach your ROI. But here's what you're going to have to lose from this, right? It's just, you can't have all these bells and whistles, because I'm not going to go to my team and go, hey, we're going to do it for a reduced rate and give them the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's been a huge part of my sales process to still lock in deals that you think, well, I guess that just wasn't the right fit, you know, and you go, well, you can probably make it work. But it's very important to also talk to your team too. Like, there's been times when I circle up with Joey and I go, all right, man, you think you can do this in a half day with oh, actually, this is a conversation with Joey. There's a music video and I go, all right, man, I have like fought for budget. This is a really cool project. We think it's gonna be a fun series thing that we're gonna do. Here's 2 ideas, man. You tell me. We can pass on it. Or do you want less crew but more time? Or do you want more crew, do a half day, and try to fit all your shots into that time? And leave it to him before I go make that final pitch and delivery. And then I know how to swap the budget out and go back to the client and say, hey, we're still confident to do this. We are cutting back the crew, which is going to cut back the amount of setups that we can do in one day, or the amount of locations, or the overall quality. But I think I can still get you what you're looking for within this. But it doesn't always work too. You can't always strip it down to meet every budget. There is a line for that. But that definitely, I guess we're switching over to production companies. They all kind of go hand in hand. But I think that has been one of the big things, not really to get bigger clients, but yes and no. Because even when you can secure that, say it's a $50K bid, they're hard out for 40, and I get it down to 42, and they agree and they close because they all got wiggle room. Okay, they got a couple of Ks
because it's integrity on their side too.
Yeah, so you got to know your client and know what you're working with as well. But once you lock that in, that's where it's like, I don't go, oh yeah, but we are going to bring the reds out anyways. We got you, but cool, we're going to give you all these free stuff. No, that's an internal thing, and we go, hey man, you want to break out the red? Like, do we want to up
the portfolio?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's our win. And it's a win for the client too, but I'm not necessarily saying, okay, we're done with the sales side of it. Now, like, I'm going to give all these concessions, right? With the value or the terms being that we set. And we go, dude, this type of video, this commercial is going to be really dope. And let's pull out the reds, or let's pull out, I'll half my director rate because we want to bring in this actor or something, And so there's flexibility on that side, which I don't think is an integrity issue. It's a portfolio bonus, at that point. And everybody wins in that scenario. Client wins, and your future portfolio wins, as long as you protect the integrity of everybody else's rate.
I love it, man. That was a lot on rate, man. I wasn't even expecting to get into it like that, but that was actually fire.
How do we get bigger clients? Because this is what the topic's about, right?
We probably need the title of the episode.
Well, yeah, this was closing deals, but
100%
bigger clients.
Yeah, I got a couple follow-up thoughts too on bigger clients, and one of the things I want to talk about too is even just the mindset, right? Of like the type of projects that you're even trying to sell. So a lot of times, and in all honesty, like I don't want to say I'm perfect in this category, because oftentimes Shane's pushing me here when a client is asking for like an interview day, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can do that by myself. Like I can set up lights and do it like a 2-camera setup and run audio and like ask the questions. Like I'm qualified to do a 1-man band interview day setup. And then he's sitting there pushing me like, bro, we have elevated past doing single crew member projects for this, and he's really great about pushing me and saying like, we don't do those single 1-man band interview like projects anymore. Even if you can do it, we don't do it. And so it's a reframing the mindset around the experience that you want to have while you're on set, and going to the client and saying like, okay, well, we're going to hire an audio guy, we're going to have a key G&E, we're going to have a PA, and we're going to have an AC, or we're going to have a director or an on-site producer or a scripty, or like all these extra things that come into the equation that you can really do to elevate the experience, not only for you as a crew member, but for the client as well. When a client feels like they're getting a Ferrari instead of a Honda, you know what I mean? Like it's just a different mindset of approaching how you sell something, even if you're capable of doing it. Like, what level do you want to do it at? And I think when I have a crew that I can have audio focus on audio, and I don't have to run a boom and, mic somebody up for a backup and do all this stuff. I now have more time to refine the lighting and to dial in like the composition. And I have more time to actually create a higher quality project because I'm working at a bigger scale. And so I think that's one mindset shift that starting to embody will help you begin to land bigger clients by saying, well, the interview day now cost this instead of this because this is how we do interviews.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you do. I think you said this, earlier. You outgrow some clients outgrow you, and so, and that's where I struggle too. Because man, I love providing solutions and success for people. And so, like, man, we got some legacy clients that we've been doing business with for 6-7 years. And when they come asking for something, I'm like, all right, here's the new rates. Like, how can we strip down the scope of work to like still, because I want to make sure that we take care of you because they were there for us, man, 7 years.
Yeah.
But eventually, those relationships, have to mature as well. And they appreciate the value that they get. To your point, they start realizing, wow, the product is so much better. For example, it used to be me going out and doing these solo one-man band shoots, right? Then I find rock stars like Joey, and I find audio people and, producers, directors. And it's like, dude, look at this team and now look at the quality because you are able to specialize in something. And so the client, even if they're reluctant, and that's where I would say this is another tip that you incrementally bring up your rate and your pricing over the course of time, and you want to make sure that those jumps aren't huge jumps. So when I say that, I try to do like a 25 to 30% max increase on production rates for clients that have been over like a year or so. I might have my rates like modern day, like, okay, this client hasn't did a project with us in 2 years. Well, unfortunately, this is the rate, you know what I mean? But I'm hoping that I keep them in the cycle so that they're only seeing a 20% increase, 30% increase year over year with the 3 or 4 projects that they're getting to kind of trickle out. And that's over those, right? And so it's a very smooth transition because there's nothing like coming back and going, well, that cost us $5,000 last year and it cost us $10,000 this year. They're probably not going to be your client unless they have seen the value that you've been giving them and the increase of value, and the rate has been a little bit smaller. Go ahead.
You bring up a good point that I wanted to get into as well. And it's that when you're trying to land bigger clients, you have to provide more value. And so if you're still operating at a certain skill set or a certain, like you're still offering 1080 video and it's like, dude, like the value that you're offering is not keeping up with the clients that you want to work with. There are certain clients that if they're technical snobs, they'll only work on red camera productions or whatever. Like that's all they want. Like some clients are actually, they want to pay a premium so that they feel like they're getting a premium product. When you work with these big, 8, 9, 10 figure businesses, they don't have a $5,000 budget. Like they're given a $50,000 budget. And if you're super far below that from a value standpoint, then you're not the right vendor for the job. And so I think making sure that you are providing the value that you're trying to attract, you know what I mean? Like making sure that your skill and the experience that you're going to provide that client is on par with the type of clients that you want to land is a big piece of the equation as well.
I got to share, I just remembered something. This is on we have a sister company. It's wedding films, Cinema Story Wedding Films. But this actually applies to anything that you can kind of package together, right? And I do this still on like live stream events and that kind of stuff. But the rule of comparison in sales and marketing is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned this a long time ago. If you have 3 different packages, the majority of the people are going to pick that middle package. They don't want to be the cheapest. They can't afford the most expensive, but they might pick that middle. Now, depending on as you keep leveling up your price. So for the weddings, we went from, I don't know. We probably started at $800 a wedding, something like that, way back in the day. You know, and we increase. Right now, this is 2024. Our lowest package is 4,600, something like that. And depending on the time period, you might start seeing everybody pick that bottom package. But that's actually a great indicator to you to go, okay, where's the quality in my offerings, right? Am I overpriced, or is the market correcting, right? And so, you know, a lot of people are like, well, how do you know when to raise your prices and stuff? And it's kind of the risk versus the reward. We've raised our prices too high one time. I remember we raised our packages. We didn't get any bookings. And then we go, all right, is it a market self-correcting because it's oversaturated? Or do we make the jump too high? Are we not targeting the luxury brides yet? You know, the higher end stuff. Is our work not worthy of this price point yet? Because we've done the research. We know where the price points are in the industry. And so when we rolled out the 3-tier approach, what you'll find is, again, you'll get probably a lot of people that take that middle one. The bottom one, depending on the market and the product, you might be booking out tons of that because they look at like, oh man, I can't have these two nice, but this one, again, comparison, at least I'm getting, look at like all their work and all this quality. I know I'm going to get something of value from them. And then the really cool thing is when we created our top tier package, I remember Joey and I looking at each other and going, I don't think anybody's going to book this package. This is way too expensive, but we put it out there for comparison, and it does have a lot of bells and whistles. And at the time, we're just like, yeah, we're not going to hold our breath, but we sold some. You know what I mean?
3, I think. Now,
and they are like, what's really cool. I haven't shared this with you, but I have people that are buying that middle package and being like, but man, I saw the cinema package, and that is just, you know, I see the value. I totally understand the value of that package, but I can only live in this, you know, budget range. That's okay. In fact, we just closed a deal not too long ago where somebody booked the cinema package because they were like, oh, I don't care what the price is. I saw that video and it was a cinema package. And so I looked at it and then I just went to the site and I picked that one. I didn't care. It was the most expensive one. I wanted that.
Well, and
that's that portfolio luxury piece that you show and you go, this is the quality you get for that price.
To that point, there are certain packages that you're not selling because you're not offering them.
Yeah.
Like somebody can't buy $100,000 video if you don't have one for sale. And you know, I remember when we made that package, we were like, dude, this is so expensive. Like nobody's going to go for it. But if you don't create a package offering that is, you know, those that the bigger clients will bite on, then you're not even putting bait out there for those bigger clients.
You're not in that market. You're not in that 1%,
right.
10%, 5% market. And so that was a big eye opener for us as well. It's like you have to, if you want to attract the higher clients, you got to have the portfolio work to show it, but then you also got to offer a package or pricing. Because on the flip side, I've been in sales meetings where they go, and this was way earlier on. I think we are much more market competitive now at this point. But I had people go, honestly, we looked at your pricing and like, you're like 4 times under what everybody else bid. And so honestly, until we had this sales meeting and we get to know who you are, they're like, you can't change it now, but you know, we're ready to lock this in. And then I was just like, dang, we are really underselling us. But that's part of like understanding the market and your value of what you're providing to the audience. I totally blanked out where I was going to go with that.
Kelon, you got any other additional thoughts on how to land bigger clients?
Yeah, I think, you talked about knowledge and relationships earlier. I think most of my work has come from either one of those two, right? Either I know how to do something, somebody's looking for that, somehow they looked up and found me, or somebody told them about me or something, or just relationships. Hey, I'm on this thing, they need some help, told them about you, it's yours if you want it, right? I think as you're trying to grow it or level it up, being able to, so even the trust of people booking you or referring you, right? I think continuing to max out with what you do have, what you can do. If all you have is a Canon Rebel and an iPhone flashlight, like do you max it out though? Like, do you keep learning what you can learn, doing what you can do, and continue to max that out? Or are you kind of blaming your level on the fact that you don't have a red, right? Everybody who's doing it on that level, somebody had to trust them for the first time to operate on that level. Nobody came out operating on that level. So people are looking at what you're doing on the level you're on with what you have and kind of determining, can I bet on that, right? To find the next new director, the next hot writer, the next up and coming DP, you have to take a chance on somebody who's, not established or hadn't done it on that level. So that's why I talk about that mindset. It's like, is your goal to continue to go after bigger clients or higher paying things, or are you trying to get better? If you keep getting better, now your reputation in the industry, what people have to say about you, like the ultimate compliment, because I don't really market. Like, I don't market myself. I do a terrible job at that. I'm not really on social media often or anything. But the best compliment somebody can pay me is when they say, I had this problem. I told somebody about it and they told me about you. That is, the highest compliment somebody can pay me. I've worked on what I'm doing enough that this person that I have a lot of respect for respects me enough to give my name to somebody else, to put their reputation on the line, to give my name to somebody else, right? And even in this industry, sometimes people confuse friends with peers, okay? We can be friends and not peers, okay? I could be operating in a certain space and you're my friend, and because you're my friend, I'm supposed to, put you on or make some introductions or get you in Cinema Story or whatever's going on. But I'm looking at you going like, do I want to risk that with me? Like, anybody I've ever introduced to this company or passed their name or number along for some work, no matter what size the client was, I had faith in what they were going to do, what they were going to deliver. I did not expect the person on the other side to call me and say, why would you send me Joe Ye? I don't know why you sent him. I'm already expecting something when I pass his name, his number along. I think it's that like quiet consistency that continues to kind of elevate what you're doing. And you just end up in different spaces because you keep growing and you keep chipping away at it. Like I've never like taken this huge leap to like, I just jumped out there and like, I'm Mark Zuckerberg now. I got, everything has always been chipping away at it, keep getting better at it, keep reading about it, buy it myself so I can practice with it at home. Like if I'm coming to you, I want to be able to say, hey, I just taught myself vMix and I know how to program whatever. I'm coming to you like adding some value, telling you what I can do for you day one, right? That's what's going to give somebody the confidence to pass you along or to give you the opportunity to do what you're diligent with on this level, on this scale, right? All the head coaches were offensive coordinators or assistants or something before that. And somebody just looked at them long enough to go, I think he can scale that success. Like, I know he's never done this on this level, but like everything he touches, he's diligent, he's whatever, he or she, like, I feel comfortable taking that chance, giving them the bigger budget, the bigger opportunity, because I'm looking at the consistency of what they're doing on their level with what they have.
To piggyback on that, I don't remember the exact person's name, but in the creation of Stranger Things, the TV series, the episodes were shot by a bunch of different DPs, but they were primarily shot by one. And I can't remember if I think it was the guy that shot the majority of them, but the director came to that DP at the time who had never done anything of that caliber before. And after interviewing a bunch of different DPs, gave him the job because the reputation that preceded him was something to the effect of he knew how big of an opportunity this was going to be, and the reputation that he had in the industry for going above and beyond and putting his heart and soul and everything he had into the projects that he did to make sure that he treated did the project with the amount of excellence that with the most amount of excellence he possibly could. And so the DP that landed that wound up getting it not because of the portfolio he had, but because of the reputation that he had in the industry by those who had spoken about him before. And now that series has gone on to be one of the most iconic series in television history because somebody trusted the reputation that he had built for himself. And I think that's a super cool story to that's paraphrased, but to essentially, back that comment that you made about reputation.
Well, it goes back to portfolio, relationship, integrity, and then experience. So I think that's like the other thing is like how you present yourself on set, right?
Yeah.
It's like once you get that rate, whether it is lower than your rate or higher than your rate or wherever it falls, once you agree to that and you show up and show that experience like this, like the Stranger Things guy, right? It's like, it doesn't matter what the project is. He's bringing 120% to it. And that's what people look at. And that's how you build that network of man, this guy's capable of anything. Like you said, like I trust that he might not have had the experience to do this yet, but I know he's capable of doing it.
And that portfolio and that website, all that's a good business card. That's a good introductory hello. But like, who are you though? Mm-hmm. Like people really are going to hire you. I still remember when I was I was working a job and we were hiring a video person in our department. And I just remember thinking like, yo, it is so hard to like interview and hire for these positions. And what would happen with the video guy, everybody would come in, great portfolio page, all the dope projects that they've ever worked on, touched, whatever. I've worked for Coca-Cola and I've done this and I've done that. And they play these videos. And here's a question I learned to ask. So what did you do on this project? Mm-hmm. What was your exact role on this project? Did you film this? Did you edit this? Oh yeah, I did the edit. You did all the titles, oh, well, no, they had somebody that, okay, talk to me about what you did. When you play each one of these videos, like talk to me about what you did on this project, because people will, we kind of in the marketing business, right? People will spice up these resumes, make these roles sound better than they were, play up what they did on a video. I mean, I could go launch a Squarespace website right now, create it, go get a bunch of videos I've produced for Cinema Story, throw them on there and be like, I'm a video company. This is my work. Well, it is. I am the filmmaker on this. This is my work, right? But who am I really though? Not just what I'm presenting and what people are reading about me and kind of processing, but you really do. Like, I think you do well in that sales phase because of the transparency, like because of you don't come off like a slimy sales guy. And I shouldn't say this, but I hate salespeople. I hate when these fools knock on my door about some
solar panels.
Oh,
come on.
I'm like, the one day I got to really chill this week, like you just knocked on my door for some solar panel, and you looking at the other guy at the other company 2 doors down. Y'all got 2 trucks on the same street. And y'all just dividing sides, just walking and I try to be nice and I try to, hey man, I'm good. Well, if you don't mind me asking what, I'm like, I just hate stuff about salespeople, right? And I think what I'm learning about sales, it's not something I've been historically great at, selling a project or selling myself, I would say. But I am learning that the more transparent things are and people can just digest the information and make a decision. And that's if I'm offering me, telling you, this is my day rate, this is what I bring, my skill set, the gear I show up with, or whatever, they go, okay, cool. And they can digest that. Or if he's going, This is the cost. Here's what we show up with. 3 people on the crew. It's like, okay, I can digest that. You know what I mean? So I think people are looking at who you are, trying to find that trust, that integrity with who you are, and not just what you're presenting or kind of what you're marketing. You know, that's what to me makes them, you know, to your example, go, you know, I know these other people have, you know, the label, the experience, or whatever, but like, there's just something about that guy. Like, he saw it how I saw it. I just felt like he, you know, we really vibe with how we discuss the vision for the shooting that, or, you know, just whatever it is. Like, people are really looking to invest in you. They want to feel good and trust what they're invested in there, you know.
You said a word that I want to jump into, which is how you market, right? And I think that part of landing bigger clients comes in marketing. From a company standpoint, or, you know, just in your experience, what are some ways that you can market to attract some of those bigger clients in the industry?
I'm gonna give the easy strategy before he goes super agency crazy over here, okay? Because I'm very introverted in that space. I literally show up to these things. I got on all black. I'm in the corner. We don't have to talk. We don't have to connect. When it's time to work, I'm gonna kill it and I'm gonna walk out. I might not say nothing to nobody. I might just kill it and walk out, right? That's how I feel. That's who I naturally am. That is not good for business. I learned last year, I know it sounds crazy because I've been doing this for like 20 years now. And I just last year embraced my responsibility to keep myself out there, right? I set a small goal last year. I said, every gig I do, every shoot, every whatever, if it's broadcast, I'm gonna find somebody on the truck, whatever it is, I'm gonna connect with one person on every gig. That was my small goal. I am not exaggerating. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to leave and have learned anybody's name, or I just don't need it. You know, that's just, I don't. And so I had to force myself connect with a person each time. What I found a lot of times is those people that are in positions that then remember you and can get you in certain positions or certain opportunities. Because I think even when I talked about, you know, partnering with the right clients, like you might partner with somebody who financially they're right here, right now, but as they grow their operation, they also increase their spending capacity and what they can pay you over time. You know, I think when people, you know, sometimes choosing the right relationships, you never know where those people are going to end up. Like there are people that I've worked with or been kind to or whatever, not and they weren't doing anything. It might have been a PA, or they might been like working at the front desk, or like something that's not impactful, something that, I'm not saying not impactful, but it's not in a position of what's the word? Like they're not a decision maker. I'm not being nice to them because of what I'm gonna get back, right? And then you look up and this person is now the marketing manager at that company, or you look up and this guy is the executive director of a nonprofit, and it's like, you know, these people that you've come in contact with, that you did well for them on whatever level, or you were just kind, or you were just nice, or you explained a complicated video process to them that's really hard for people to understand. Like people, the right people have loyalty in the right situations. Like as they move, they'll, the same way you said earlier, it's people that, hey, they were there for us. They helped us build this company. I try to always figure out how to make that budget work, that whatever. Well, people are like that. People move around and remember who they had success with, who helped them look good. Like you can do work for a client and be consistent in what you're delivering with the videos and whatever. It might lead to them getting a promotion. And you were just showing up doing you, right? You could have showed up and gave them the the minimum or sent the skeleton crew out there when it should have been 5 people. You could have chosen to, yourself or your bag or you whatever on that project. But when you value people in the relationship and you try to keep showing up for people, well, those people move around. And again, as they elevate and we're continuing to elevate, you hope that aligns, because I think the other thing that can happen, people can elevate, and if we're not growing, we still can't even fill their elevated needs. So now they need more out of us, but we weren't growing to be able to now meet that need, right? So it's like it's really us, our mindsets, our commitments to growing and continuing to getting better and just focusing on the right things and not just trying to make more money. You know what I mean? Like that's
I don't have time to unpack all the marketing on the agency side, but I'm going to just drop this little bit that I think goes not only on the freelance, but on the commercial or agency side. I think if you can position, everybody wants to be the hero. Selfishly, in our lives, we identify as like we're living a narrative where we need to, make sure that we're okay, that our family's provided for. Everybody wants to be the hero, but if you can position yourself as the guide to help somebody else on their journey, they won't ever forget that. And that's how you build those relationships, whether on a freelance gig or a corporate commercial project.
Save the cat.
Save the cat. No, it's actually
wait.
Building a story brand.
There you go. Building a story brand. Sorry, he's got 2 books that he's always trying to preach to me, and I got the wrong book right. Dang it.
Does he preach Save the Cat?
He preaches Save the Cat.
Oh, I didn't know that about
if you're looking for books, it's Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and then Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
There you go.
Both great marketing positioning books, because if you change your mindset, people will realize that you're out for their greater good, and they're always going to then, like you said, as they move around to place, they're going to go, dude, Keelan's all about making me look good. I want Kelon to be on my team for this next project.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
I love it, man. This has been really good. I feel like I took some stuff away from this that was just like stuff that I had known, but even just like the reinforced knowledge of it is like amped me up to go land some new clients, man. Hyped. Anything y'all want to piggyback on before we wrap this out on how to land bigger clients?
Man, we gotta do a whole unpack on like
I was gonna say
advertising and marketing, but we ain't got time today. I will say this has been a blast sitting in between you two. Our knees are touching. Y'all probably can't see that in this studio, but Kelon and I have been playing knees
Footsies
all day. Yeah, Joey's got his leg up on my lap. It's real cozy here in the studio.
It is, man. Well, guys, it's been good chatting with you all. I'm looking forward to not touching knees anymore. So I'm going to wrap this thing up. Guys, appreciate you coming to the studio today, Kelon. Always a pleasure, my friend. If you're still with us, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time on the Rough Cut Club,
where I'll be hosting.